Hello, this is Ed. Welcome to Let's Compose. Today we are going to compose a string quartet. Hi guys, and welcome back to Let's Compose. First things first, I'd like to say that one thing that is expected of composers, more than anyone else, is to have in their heads all of the information needed for all of the instruments they're writing for and everything. It's like you have to know how to play each of the instruments and all that stuff, which I'm fine with. I'm pretty good at memorising enough information for what I want to write. But occasionally we get it wrong, and I did this last video, in particular with the harmonic series. It was pointed out to me by a friend who's a composer, Clarke. He's a wonderful composer. I'll put a link to his stuff in the description. And he's absolutely right. I don't know why I particularly made this mistake, so here we go with the harmonic series again. Use this description rather than the other one. Plastered the other one with comments, just to show what it is. So we start out with a fundamental, which in this case is a D, as I described before. Now, how I did this before was kind of right, but I didn't quite get it right, and I think I was just tired. So we have a fundamental, and then the sequence is based on frequency. So I don't know what the frequency of a D is, but an A is 440 Hertz, or 442 or 444, depending where you are. I think in America it's 444. And what you do to get the next partial, the next harmonic, is to double the frequency. So the next one up is 880 Hertz, and that's around an A, an octave above that. Now, it's not quite an octave. In fact, the harmonic series is very microtonal. I'm going to be writing it out in a tempered system just so we can use it. It's easier to refer to it that way. It's not necessary, if you're using harmonics, for example, in a string, to list all of the microtones to the nearest cent, and they're near enough the notes, apart from when you get a bit higher up, when it's a bit further away. If you were to write a harmonic series for a piano, this is how you'd do it. So it goes an octave, not two octaves, as I said before. Don't know why I said that. Fifth, up to the D, up to the A, and after that there's a fourth, up to the D, major third, F sharp, minor third, A, and then it's something between a B and a C. It sounds more like a C. So it's that one. That's what I got particularly wrong. For some reason I have a blind spot when it comes to harmonic series. I often put a B in there. I think it's to do with the fact that I think of it as halving the interval each time, or halving the distance between the two each time, which is the wrong way to think about it. Thank you, Des. And then it carries on up here, and I think on a stringed instrument you can get about as far as here without too much trouble. You can get higher up, but it's difficult on a stringed instrument, and you have to use things like well, you have to play close to the bridge, for example, which will produce higher harmonics, but it's quite unstable and not always easy to get, although it's often interesting using it. So there we go. So this is the harmonic series. I hope this is the second time I've re-recorded this, just to make sure. So that's it. That's right. Now, this brings me on to the next thing that I want to talk about today. So it's difficult talking about your own music. It's when you become very serious about it, when you start composing a lot, and when you do it for yourself as an artist, when you consider yourself an artist and things like that, then it becomes very difficult to talk about your music. I think when I was younger, actually, I had even trouble just sharing the music itself. I felt like I was bearing my soul, and that I wasn't clever enough or I wasn't musical enough. And it's such a common feeling with composers. It's so difficult to talk about your music and so difficult to expose yourself in that way, because it feels like you're bearing your soul, and it leads to a lot of very convoluted and quite pretentious commentary and program notes and things like that. They're often very funny. There's a composer bullshit generator, I believe, online, which I'll link to in the description. It's hilarious because I've programmed contemporary music before, and I get lots of these program notes that are nonsensical or obscure to the point of meaninglessness, and it's basically a guarded reaction to talking about your music. Composers don't like it. They don't like to talk about their music. They don't like to feel that they're put on the spot, and they're more comfortable writing notes, honestly, which is why they do it. So in order to do this, of course, I'm going to have to take some criticism. I'm going to have to make myself a bit bulletproof. It's incredibly embarrassing that I messed up the harmonic series. It's such an important thing to me, and we're going to be using it a lot in this piece. And when Des told me about it, it's a hard thing to take on the chin. It's very good. It's very good that you did, and please feel free to tell me when you think I've got something wrong in the comments or by message. It's hard. It's hard to admit that there's something you think is wrong, and I think I did know this. I did know that B was wrong. For example, I'd looked at it before, and also the 2-octave thing. As I said it, I had no idea why I said it. I think I was just tired, and the second time recording that because the video had skipped, so I got it wrong. But as I say, it's hard to talk about this. I'm going to have to be very careful not to take things personally, and to talk very clearly about my music, because that's part of the point of this series, is to just talk about what's going to go on. Talk about things as they come, whether they're ridiculous or they're good. And some of my ideas will be ridiculous, some of them will be badly thought out, and I will make mistakes, as humans do. So there we go. Anyway, so what we're going to do this episode is some research. It's one of the most important things when doing composition. And it's going to be a bit choppy. It's going to take me a couple of days to make this episode, I think, because I actually have to research myself. It's not like I've got this stuff already down. So I'll talk a bit about what I'm doing as I do it, and hopefully you'll enjoy the episode. Okay, bye. Hi guys. So first thing I'm doing is listening to some music, and I'm going to have a look at the scores as well, if I can get hold of them. The first piece that I thought of when thinking about the sort of sound world I'd like was a piece by Joe Cutler called Folk Music. Now, Joe came and gave us a talk at university while I was there, and it was a very interesting one, and that piece particularly struck me. It was very exciting and very well written for the instruments. It has some very interesting textures and ideas, in particular the first violin was a very amazing virtuosic part. And also Joe talked a bit about a 5-minute piece and how he felt it was an interestingly distilled form of music, and that it was his favourite length for a piece, so maybe you might think about that. There's also a piece I heard recently in a concert by the Ligeti String Quartet. It was a fantastic concert. They played in Late Music, which is a contemporary music concert series based in York, which I used to work for. And they played a Christian Mason piece, which is called Huang Hai Hua. it's an arrangement of a Chinese melody. Actually, to me it sounds more Mongolian than Chinese. It must be sort of northern Chinese area. There's a lot of partials in it, a lot of harmonics. It's one of Christian's favourite things to do. It's also one of my favourite things to do. So I'd like to hear that piece again. Both those scores might be difficult to get hold of. I'll try emailing them to see. Another piece I heard in that concert was the Jonathan Harvey string quartet, second string quartet. Jonathan Harvey died recently. He was, by all accounts, a great man and a very beautiful composer, very intense, dealt a lot with issues of mortality and with his own religious ideas and spirituality. And the second string quartet it's just these incredible chords in them. They're really spread out across really high harmonics and low notes, and I want to go and listen to that until I fade away. They also played at Pärt, which I kind of want to revisit. Fratres, however you pronounce it. It's a very well-known piece by Pärt, and they're, like many pieces by Arvo Pärt, there exist several different versions of it. It's something I'd like to revisit because it's a very simple piece. I know what happens in it, and it's easy to dismiss simple pieces. It's easy to dismiss Pärt, who does this a lot, really, right? It's very slow-moving, very accessible pieces, but there is something there, definitely. It reminded me of Ives's Unanswered Question, which is very, very simple in concept, but very achingly beautiful. So I'd like to have a listen to that again. Other pieces that I'm going to have a listen to, and that, well, I already know are good. Things like Ligeti's second string quartet, which is a piece that I've long held in admiration. Pieces by Fernihoe and Finnissy, who are two of my favourite composers, and by Tippett. I love Tippett's string quartets. I'm not sure how useful he'll be, but he's got a very interesting approach to polyphony, to counterpoint, as did Benjamin Britten, who was a friend of his. They both have this very disjunct way of looking at things, and I quite like to explore that bit. Of course, you can't really think about repetitive, rushing textures without talking about the minimalists. So the Steve Reich, John Adams, people like that. Philip Glass, of course. Philip Glass less so, although I'm quite interested to revisit an opera I went to see recently. It's for string quartet and two voices, and it's based on a story by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which I've read. It's a fantastic story about being in a concentration camp, being in a camp and in the middle of a desert, in the middle of desert, while eating a nice dinner. Dessert on the porch, being in a concentration camp. And it's got a very relentless string quartet. It may be worth just having a look at that again, if I can get hold of it. Reich, of course, Steve Reich's Different Trains is one of my all-time favourite pieces of music in the world. When I first heard it, it blew my mind and tears just came out my eyes. It's the most incredible piece, very sensitive and very beautiful. I'm not sure there's much I can take away from it, really, because it's on such a different topic. But there are some very beautiful sonorities in it, some very beautiful chords and ideas, which I'd like to look at. And there's an Adams piano jet piece as well that I have in mind, whose name escapes me, but that I've played. But it's very minimalist. It has a nice 5th C, 4th C kind of sonority to it, which which I'm going to be exploring for the harmonic material, and I think it's worth having a listen to that again. So yeah, so that's part of my research, not one that you can really watch me do, but it's always worth going out and listening to and exploring the repertoire that you enjoy and that inspires you. And although, you know, don't try to steal too many ideas, but always worth it. Hi guys, back to my hands. Look at my hands. I hope you enjoyed looking at my face for a while. It's not the prettiest of faces. I'm going to wrap this episode up now because I don't want to keep these ones too long. I think we're aiming for around 18 to 20 minutes, if only because my internet's not great at the moment, and it takes a long time to upload the videos in anything like good quality. So we'll carry on with research next time, and we'll start talking a bit more about actual material. Alright, bye for now.